For the second year in a row, the Oklahoma City Thunder sweep their first-round series. They now have won 8 in a row against the Memphis Grizzlies. They are the first team to sweep in this year's playoffs. They win 4-0 over Memphis. Welcome to Playoff Central Live, presented by State Farm. That's the Hall of Famer Isaiah Thomas, Wes Matthews, and member of the Atlanta Hawks, George Niang. So let's get down to business when we go back and look at how this game came to an end. In the game, but it's not over just yet. Desmond Bane with the pass, working around the horn of Vince Williams. Shots. So the Thunder advance, sweeping this first-round series following the game. Here is 3D with SGA.
SGA, when I saw you before Game 3, you were relaxed, not worried about how you were playing. Why do you stay so locked in like that?
It's basketball. It's the game of life. Ups and downs. All you can do is control what you can control. And makes and misses is not one of them, so I don't worry about it. I play to my strengths and trust my work every night. Tonight it showed up when we needed it. That's how the game goes.
Sometimes it's good to be in a close game like this after being in a couple blowouts. Did this show how tight you are down the stretch as a team?
Yeah, this time of year it's about winning. And no matter what it looks like, you take it. And that above all, no matter how I was performing or whatever, we were winning, and that's all that mattered. And that's why I was so relaxed. We were in a good spot, and we closed out the series tonight because of that.
Rest versus rust, how big is it to get this series over with and kind of wait and see what happens for the next series?
Yeah, we just got to stay sharp. Yeah, we had a long break between the end of the season and the first game. We gotta figure out how to win those days in between. When I say we, I mean myself.
Exactly.
But yeah, we'll be ready for the next series for sure.
A new playoff career high for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander with 38. And, Wes, take us through that final play, because if you hear him talk, he was off. After starting the game 7 for 7 from the field, really struggled to find his shot, but still trusted it when it mattered most.
I mean, you heard him. He's as calm as a superstar that we have in this league right now. You know, as a guy that trusts his work, trusts his process, embodies the winning culture, uplifts his teammates to come along with him. And so it's easy to rally behind a guy like that. You hear what he says. He trusts his process, territory where he can impact the game on multiple levels. He's the head of the snake. He's a point guard. He can get downhill. He can set the table. He knows where his guys are supposed to be. But at the end of the day, he knows what he is, and he knows that he can score. Like George said.
And he still knew that he can get it back on.
Well, he started out 7 for 7, ended up 13 for 24. So in some point in time in the game, he fell off a little bit. He lost what we would call sometimes your confidence. And this is where the work comes in, because what gives you confidence? Confidence comes from how much you practice, how much work you put in, and consequently, when you are off, you trust the work that you put in because you know you're going to get right back on. And those who don't work, right, they may start off 7 for 7, and they'll end up in a 2-3 day slump because they haven't put the practice in. And those are the guys we say, oh, he got hot for a minute, right? But the guys like SGA, Kevin Durant, when they miss a couple of shots, everybody comes back to the bench and we like, all right, now, you know you're getting ready to get on in a minute, so be ready, right? So the Steph Currys, the Shais, the Durants, them guys work so much. And I guarantee you, right, because of the work that Shai has put in working on his shot, I bet you it's helped a lot of the other younger players on the team because they see his work ethic. So confidence in your shot, confidence in your work comes from practice, practice, practice.
George, when I look at the Thunder tonight, I go, man, they were 7 for 35 from three-point range. Isaiah Joe made half of those.
What's his name?
Isaiah Joe.
Oh, okay.
I get it, because the Isaiah part, I was like, hold on, but in just 14 minutes. But the rest of the team, when they struggled from three-point range, it's interesting to watch the confidence they still had late in the game and throughout the course of the game taking other shots.
Yeah, I know. I think, obviously OKC is a gritty group, right? And they're going to figure it out. They just find ways to win games, and they've been doing that all year. I think you having guys like Isaiah Hartenstein, picking up the slack, getting offensive rebounds, shooting his floater. It's not just the three-point ball that, helps this team win significantly in games. So they struggled tonight, but when you have guys that like Jalen Williams who can get to the lane and guys that can continuously get into the paint and create stuff for others, they're just an overall tough team to stop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 2 Isaiahs and 2 Jalen's on that team. So I think it's a Detroit thing helping
Isaiah and Jalen, and don't forget Joe. I mean, if you Isaiah Joe,
you cold, huh?
For those at home that don't get it, come on, as in Joe Dumars, your former bad boy backcourt mate.
If you Isaiah Joe, then, it's a problem for you.
Well, let's focus on another Isaiah for a second, Isaiah Hartenstein.
Them Isaiahs are kind of good, I just want you to know.
11 points, 12 rebounds, 4 steals, 3 assists. And that's something we noticed about doing the intangibles, but also still putting up the numbers.
And it allows them to be very versatile on the defensive or on the offensive side of the ball. Defensive side of the ball, too. I mean, you can play lineups where he's the 5, Chet's the 4, Chet's the 4, he's the 5. I mean, he might be the 5 on his own with a smaller lineup because he's one of those guys that you can initiate offense. He may not have range to the three-point line, but he's still a threat with his screening, with his handoffs, with his ability to pass. We saw a great pass, a bounce pass from the top of the key to a cutter. So we know he's going to defend. We know he's going to rebound. We know he's going to be in the right spots. So, I mean, he's a great pickup for them.
And he brings a sense of toughness to that team, right? You talk about what he did with New York and the Knicks last year. And with a young group like that, it's good to have a seasoned veteran like that. I know he's only, 27 years old, but he's been in the playoffs. He's aggressive. He brings that physical presence that you need, as you would know, as in the playoffs, you need that physical presence, especially in the paint.
Well, tell us what it's like playing against them, right? Because I saw earlier in the season, someone said it's like playing against ghosts because you know that someone's there defensively looking for a steal or looking for a block when you're playing against OKC. 13 steals, 7 blocks. How are they so tenacious but effective on defense?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is they do a good job of trapping the box, as you saw right there. OKC is just all over the place, multiple effort plays, and in the playoffs, that's really what it's all about. Schemes are one thing, but when you have a group that's constantly making multiple efforts and challenging you to try different things on the offensive end, they just remain sound on the defensive end and do what they do. And when you give multiple efforts, that's usually when you have block shots, steals. They're just doing it longer than most teams.
Zeke, in today's NBA, you look at the box score and you go 20% from three-point range, just 7 made threes. That's a losing formula for most teams, not for OKC.
Well, OKC is built and rooted in defense. So consequently, it's not a losing formula for them. What they try to do is wear you down defensively. The mental aspect of the game on the defensive side of the ball, they believe that you're going to make mistakes. They're going to capitalize on those mistakes. And anytime they capitalize on those mistakes, they're in transition. So they're not a team that's built strictly on offense. They're built on defense first. And when you look at the players that they have, they all are solid defensively. Then they try to score the ball. But first thing is, we're going to stop you from scoring.
Well, Memphis got swept, but look, they played without Ja Morant in its final game. Game 1, they lost by 51. Game 2 by 19, by 6, and then this last one by 2. They did show signs of life and fight as the series progressed. Again, head coaching change at the end of the season. Here's Tomas Isolo, the interim head coach.
When there's a situation when you're considering challenging a call, can you kind of give us insight into the process that has to take place? It looked like, there were probably a bunch of instances where you were looking to the bench trying to get clarity or details, and, you decided not to challenge those calls. Just what goes into, those situations and you deciding to make the call?
We have a team in the second row that is in charge of this process, that are experts in this, and that have been part of one of the most accurate crew in the whole NBA this season in challenges, and I fully trust those people to make the calls because they are watching the situation from the beginning of the end, and it doesn't work that way that you get into the postseason and then throw the process out because you feel emotional about a call. You might disagree with something, but you trust in everybody doing the work. That's why they're in those spots, and we have some of the best people in the whole league in that.
I know it just ended, but if you had to sort of summarize the series into a single takeaway, what would you say?
turnovers hurt the chances of winning.
I was just going to say, and how much did that apply to the entire season overall?
I think it was the weakest of the 4 factors that we had. Our offensive turnovers. We were able to create pretty high shot quality throughout the season. We had a high offensive rebounding rate, and we were also one of the leaders in free throw rate. So it was clearly an area that we can and need to improve on.
Right, Coach. Can you just describe, these last 2 performances from Scottie and the way he was able to step up in a game like this when you just needed, every point you can get?
Yeah, Scottie did a tremendous job throughout the end of the season. He was a very, very consistent player on both ends, defensively guarding maybe the best perimeter attacker in basketball right now, and at the same time leading the offense, and he did a tremendous job, and I'm very proud of him, and it's been great to watch from the side, him improving by leaps and bounds.
You were asked about Vince a little bit before the game, and you spoke to that. Obviously, he played well in this game. Was it hard for him? Was it hard to make a decision to get him into a game before this, given the struggles he had late in the season? And is this, even though it's one game, do you see this as a jumping point that he can use to get sort of back into the mix next season potentially?
Yeah, we settled on a rotation, or let's say a structure of rotation that we were comfortable with heading into this series and late in the season. And there was, we've spoken about this a lot. He had very bad luck this season. First with the knee injury lingering from the previous year, then with the very serious ankle injury against Golden State, and then when he came back from that and was reestablishing himself, or when there was the coaching change, he also had the stomach virus that lasted several days, which took him out of rhythm, and we felt like we were playing pretty solid basketball coming back from our East Coast trip at that point. But like I've said the whole time, like, we are very high on Vince, and he's been doing great. And I know it's difficult to find a rhythm if you're haven't been playing, and then you get thrown out there to play against a team of this caliber that has a lot of disruption also on the court. So, but way to step up today, and definitely, future looks bright for him.
Coach in the back here, obviously tremendous challenge without Ja today against a team of that caliber, but you guys were in it all the way to the end. How do you think you guys mitigated that and kept the fight up until really the last whistle?
Well, it's that word, we fought. Everybody in the team, like, there was zero quit in this team. We had several opportunities to do that throughout the end of the season. There's been, it's difficult to explain, but how much, like, emotional, turmoil there's been. Like, you see, starting with the coaching change, that obviously creates, big ripples. But then you have, also what happened with Jalen, that everybody, and then going through that again, with Ja in the previous game, coming up very near misses, playing some great games where we just are unable to close it for a reason. Guys had every reason to just let this one slip away, and they didn't. And that says a lot about the character in this group and the togetherness and what type of guys they are.
And obviously the loss is still fresh, but can you just describe what's it been like for you personally, taking over this position late in the season and just trying to find ways to put this team in the best position to win, even though, there's been a lot of stuff going on with the team, injuries, off the court, all that type of stuff, and just what's it been like being in this position?
I'm sure I'll have time to reflect on that at some point. Haven't really been thinking about it, just been trying to do my job as well as possible, and I see myself as trying to help out the guys compete on the court, and just trying to provide them with tools that they can compete with each other against the other team. Whatever reflection there is, that will have to wait for future also from my part. But again, extremely proud of the guys and how they've handled this adjustment.